Oi, that's a lovely one.
Oh, yes.
And there's another. Oi, that's really lovely. Well, today we go walkabout after the news. I do.
Yes, Meteor 3.0.
We're taking you on safari, heading out into that jungle we call the web to show you some of that genus known to some of you only locally as MeteorJS apps. That's right. And just so that we just don't scare y'all, we'll share with you a few that you might have seen around before and that you know. Now, if it calms you down, we're going to keep this field trip going by showing you other species out in the wild. Websites and web apps, rocket chat sites and Weka apps, and even some other European variants. But you're a discerning bunch, and you say, so what? Who cares about these fossils, even though you and I know you soiled your pants getting here? Well then, you'll need the big gun for this recent edition from that famous naturalist, Dr. Dimitri. In plain English, we'll answer the question, who uses Meteor and how? And then we'll wrap up with the CFPs and the conference listings and final hot takes. So you want to stick around for that. But first, this is episode 30, and you're watching or listening to This Week in MeteorJS, a news segment of the MeteorJS Dispatches podcast aimed at both new and veteran users of Meteor. Our program is brought to you by MeteorJS community ambassadors who share information, events, activities, and other newsworthy items. I'm your host, Alim Gafar, in the wilds of New York.
And I'm young Küster in the wilds of Germany. Hey.
Now, storytellers on the road today won't be joining us, but as usual, we start with the news.
Yes, Meteor 3.0 Beta 6 is out. So, I mean, this is maybe not the newest for everyone, but if you haven't considered it yet, you should. It's containing mostly bug fixes and updates, but all in one, all together, if you take a look at it, we go even one more step to a final RC. So everyone who hasn't checked it out yet, check it out and update. There were positive responses, not many, but all of them positive. So you should try it out if you haven't, and looks all good and stable, right?
Have you tried it yourself yet? Have you
not for the community packages, because I'm a little bit slower with updating on all that, because I have usually my 2-week cycles, and now I'm on vacation, and then after that I will get back, and then I will put everything on the latest beta that is just out there, and then wait for 2 more weeks what's coming up next.
Perhaps what we'll do next week is we'll bring Gabrielle or somebody else from the team on, and they could talk about where things stand on the latest on 3.0.
And if you have spotted a wild error in the 3.6 beta, then you should definitely get back to this forum post and report on that.
Okay. Do you have the next tab, or should I launch it?
Yes, I have the next tab.
Okay. So, folks, our friend Dr. Dimitri, who had an application for years sitting in the background by the Austria Group, which is one of the companies that, one of the organizations that he runs, the Value Group, I'm sorry. Austria is the namespace of the packages that he publishes for Meteor. He's taken this application that he had a tiny, very, do you have the link for this, by the way? Let me tell you what the URL is for it, if you don't have it already. Let's see. I don't have it here.
The Meteor Files product or the product hub?
It was the Meteor Files
yes.
Mini app. Not this one. This is what he has launched. But what I wanted to show was the genesis of this, which was this mini app that he was running from the Value Group. That was like a tiny. You're not going to find it here. It's okay. Don't worry about it. I'll come back and we'll talk about it later when I'm talking about this, because I think I actually have the link later on when we are talking about Meteor files. In any case, if we go to the product right now, he has launched this product. There is a lifetime discount that's being offered for folks that sign up now to use it. And what this is it's like Dropbox, but it allows you to upload unlimited size files. And on top of that, it has file upload resumability, which are two key issues, I think, are two key points that differentiate this from every other upload product out there. First of all, because you have no limit on the size, it could be terabytes, it could be gigabytes, it could be terabytes. As long as you want to, and you have the storage for it, you can do so. Now, he has some different pricing options for different storage levels for this, and there's some new and interesting features that are coming out, including download resumability. Well, let me just talk for a minute about the upload resumability, because that is really the interesting thing to me. One of the things is sometimes when you're uploading, if you have a bad connection or your file is too big and there's some issues with the upload, you'll find that sometimes your upload is corrupted, it doesn't get completed, and then you have to start all over again. If you're talking about gigabytes, not only does it take more bandwidth that you're using to network, your network bandwidth that you're going to use to get the file up. So if you've uploaded like half a gigabyte and now it crapped out or it crashed on you, excuse my American informality there, then you have to start all over again. And if you were able to upload the full gigabyte, you've basically tried to transfer a gigabyte and a half, and you've used that up in terms of your allotment. Not only does it, use up your costly, and it could be costly depending on where you are, upload ability or your data stream capacity, but what it also does is it uses up your time. With resumability, if you got cut off at that 500, when you come back in and you restart it, it will continue from where it left off. So that bit of data, that 500 megabytes that was useless before, is actually usable, and they'll just build on it until they get to the terabyte, and then they do the transfer. I don't remember if I started with terabytes or gigabytes and megabytes, whatever it is, but I think you get the idea. And I think this is a novel solution out there, and it is terrific. And you can imagine, for instance, having to upload a large file. It could be like a video, because we do these videos and sometimes they're over gigabyte, sometimes they're over 5 gigabytes. And you could imagine sitting at the airport, starting your upload, and then you have to board your plane and you have to stop it, and it hasn't quite gotten even a half of it done. Well, when you get to your destination, you open back up again, you could just start again from where you left off, saving time, saving your capacity. And it may be very expensive if you're in a foreign country and you have to pay for that capacity as an extra service. So I think this is a really cool application, and it's really great. So do you have something to add here?
I also have to add another use case that I just recently encountered is I've been to a public place, so sometimes I have to travel for reasons of work and stuff, and then I'm at public places using a public Wi-Fi. Of course, I use my my institutional VPN and stuff, which makes things even slower, but the overall connection reliability is very low, especially when this is a shared Wi-Fi by many people, and then it's varying a lot, and then sometimes it even disconnects and all that stuff when it's a bad managed Wi-Fi. And then so that would be also another use case, which is making this very interesting if you're a business user who's traveling a lot, right?
Yeah, I think the prices that he has here are relatively cheap compared to the competition. They're either at competitive prices or cheaper. So I think if you want to, I believe, I don't remember what the discount is, but for folks that are going in right now, this is on Product Hunt. If you're watching this video and you find that this is very useful, please go and upvote it at Product Hunt. It came in at number 12 in terms of a weekly rank on Product Hunt. We would like to see it get to, the top 10 for the week, or maybe the top 10 for the month. So anything that we could do to help move this forward and get a great Meteor product out and in the hands of others using it, but also in the mind space of others saying, look at what somebody built with this. It is a beautiful, minimalist, efficient, effective product. And I think it's got a number of different innovations and it's built with Meteor.
Yeah.
And I think that's pretty awesome.
And coming from products that are out in the wild, I would also go on things that help you to place your products in the wild. And this is something that is really, really good. It's the Jam PubSub package. And it's much more than just a subscription caching or like a method-based publication, but it's really like an all-in-one solution to this whole scalability issue on publications, and also provides now change stream options, so you don't have to rely on oplog. And this is definitely on my to integrate list, but I already checked the code and it looks really great. And I also would like to give some props to Jamoro, or I still don't know how to pronounce, but maybe you will join us in the future for a talk.
User Jam.
Yeah, Jam. And what I really love is the whole code is being documented. There is comments everywhere. JSDoc is everywhere. The README is comprehensive, and there are tests and stuff. So you also know the specs, how things should be running. This is really important, because when you publish a package that is a community package, that is community maintained, and you want this to survive for a few years, then maybe other will come in and catch up and help out. And they need a good documented package with lots of information and a good structure. And this is provided here also by the other packages, by the way. But also, I just don't want to go too deep into all that, because I think you should just check it out. And many people from the community, long Meteor community members, positively reacted on this. So it's definitely worth to check out. And what I suggest only here, or what I found while looking at the code, I found that there is some kind of monkey patching involved. And it is not a flaw of the package, but it is a flaw of the way the Meteor framework works on some deeper levels. So what I wanted to say is, on the high level, Meteor is a very great framework, uses inversion of control pattern and all that stuff, making a great developer experience. But once you get deeper, things get very hacky. And this is what Meteor as a framework needs to address in the next 2 years, in my opinion. This is very.
Is it really Meteor's fault, though? Isn't that just part of the way you have to deal with the prototypal chain in JavaScript?
No. It's rather like, so this package hooks into the DDP messaging and things, and there is a method it monkey patches in order to hook into that, and in order to provide these kinds of publication replacement, I would say. I mean, this is my surface view on things, but from what I looked at, I thought, why Meteor simply does not provide a way that you can hook into these things from a clean perspective. I mean, this is a little bit related to also the collection 2 discussion that's in the forum. We covered that already and might cover that in upcoming episodes again. Some solutions in Meteor were basically community packages that monkey patched some existing stuff. I mean, this even goes down to how the Meteor APM from Aronoda and the HQ worked. Basically, that was a huge monkey patch. And I also do in my packages do things like this, like monkey patching. And I think these are signs where places should be changed in terms of the core code to avoid this monkey patching, to provide a proper abstraction, like their standard pattern, right? Adapters, inversion of control pattern, like injection and stuff. So there are solutions to that, and I just think there needs to be people, there needs to be time and some effort to make this work. And I think post 3.0, these are things that should be definitely tackled on.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll buy that. I'll buy that. But I also want to add to this, by the way, that there, even though the package is out, Jam is really looking for community involvement in terms of using it, evaluating it, and so on. Part of the discussion that's been going on has been exactly that. And on top of it, Jam took his inspiration for the change stream portion of this from work that Radek had done earlier. Radek is a user that has done a tremendous amount of work with this, and he used to work for Vasco, which is a company that uses Meteor, that develops a lot of things with Meteor. And now Radek is a free agent, if I think that's correct, right? And but he is still very, very much involved in the community aspect of things. And he looked at this and said, well, this is pretty good, but there's some things that you need to consider. And there has been a really interesting technical discussion going back and forth between Jam and Radek on this, in terms of some of the ways that he has taken some of the issues that Jam has taken some of the issues that Radek brought up and had found a way to address them. But as you are saying, in some cases, it's not necessarily the cleanest or maybe the final solution to this package. So we should see more work being done to this package, and getting it into a more and more robust state, if we want to say that. Definitely. But in the meantime, I think there are people that are willing to give it a try, and I think you should also, because that will reveal where things need to change and where improvements can come.
And even if you don't try it out now or something, give it a star, because these packages, they are actually really providing something new since quite some time. I mean, the Jam packages are, to me, the most from the most recent time, the most impactful packages that are coming out right now, and that you should honor that. You should give some stars to that at least.
All right, shall we move on to our friend from the Weasel family, the FeretDB?
Yeah, did you spot a weasel? Yes.
Yeah. So FeretDB is being developed as an open source drop-in for MongoDB. It's a replacement for MongoDB that could be used with Meteor, and they've been working with the Meteor team. That team, the FeretDB team, has been working with the Meteor team to make it a seamless drop-in for Meteor users. And I believe it's built on top of Postgres. And so it allows you to, for people that are uncomfortable using a NoSQL database, it allows you to use something that's far more familiar and use it with Meteor. And I think it's really sort of an interesting application of a change in database technologies and keeping the reactivity in place. So that is the other part too. You can use SQL databases today with Meteor, but you still need to have MongoDB in place so that you can have the reactive updates. In this case, you don't need MongoDB at all. You would just drop FeretDB in, and then it would work. Well, our friend Laurie from Wecken CEO, has been playing with it, and he has some requests for testers. I think he wrote some example code or sample code with it. I'm not quite sure if I don't have that up in front of me. Let me pull it up, and I can't quite see it. But he has this request for testers, and so we want to help publicize that there is this request. And it was about 11 days ago. He asks for MongoDB, Meteor FeretDB examples, and he got some replies on his site, and he wants to get some help on testing these things out. So if you can, and you're interested in seeing a replacement for MongoDB because you're not comfortable with it, you'd rather see a SQL database behind it that offers the reactivity, I would suggest helping out with this and going in, give it a try, and then filing bugs if you find any, or if you have some comments about the experience and you want to leave them, let them know. Do you have anything to add here?
Not from my end now, right?
All right. Okay. Let's move on. Okay. There is some continued discussion on LLMs and MeteorGPT. This MeteorGPT is a tool that Vasco had created and announced a few weeks back, and said, "Hey, this is a tool that we built, and we'd like to see whether or not you guys think it's useful." And so you might want to just go take a look at this. It is a little bit interesting to me because it's using GPT, but there is some issues with being able to access it because you need to have like a paid key in order to use it. And I think the examples that we're seeing here is more of an explanation of what Meteor is and elements of Meteor and how you might use it, rather than actual code. I don't know if there's any code generation that goes on here, but it seems to be ingesting the Meteor documentation and then using it as a quick way for you to get in-context information about Meteor.
I think this is because the assistant feature is only for paid subscription, right? So basically in ChatGPT, you can use these assistants to train with your custom material, and then you can use the general power of ChatGPT 4 and its whole model, plus the trained subdomain you basically ingest to it with the Meteor documentation.
Yes. So if you're already a ChatGPT customer, paying customer, then there is this application, because now today with ChatGPT, you can create applications. They have created this MeteorGPT application, and if you have that paid account, you can use it. So that's where that is. Where there is some discussion, I think, among people who have been looking at this, that, well, they don't have a paid account, and so they probably won't be using it because it's just, not something that they're subscribed to right now.
Yep. So give that a try.
If you
so
want.
Coming from the helpers, let's go into the total core of tools. So Laurie posted on the forum something about WinterJS. I've never heard on that, so I just gave it a look at and found out this is yet another JavaScript runtime, because we don't have so many JavaScript runtimes, right? But this is simply not a new runtime. It's using existing runtime, the SpiderMonkey engine. So the runtime is written in Rust. It uses the SpiderMonkey engine and execute the JavaScript, and Tokyo to handle underlying HTTP requests and JS event loop. But it's all runnable in the Wasmer Edge framework engine. It's all built basically on Rust and runs in WASM, and it's super blazingly fast, basically. And I don't know if this, and this is what really interests me, I don't know if these engines, especially like WinterJS, Bun, if they all differ from Node only in terms of performance, or is it also some platform independency? I mean, I looked at the repository on this Wasmer IO platform, and that's actually interesting because it's very platform independent in a way that it has lots of bindings. So if you can look here, it has so many SDKs for many, or at least targets lots of languages. And I mean, that's some kind of portability that it creates, right? And I mean, that's an interesting approach. I really like that. Still, the question to me is right now, at this verge of yet another runtime, like, are we again in this floating state of like we have with some frameworks or front-end engines? Like now we have like 10 of them, and then you will have in 5 years, you will have 2 of them that made it, and the rest of them will decline or something like this. I don't know. It's just, for me, it's currently a state where I don't know. For example, like, this is to me not a feature. Like, this is what I expect it to have. Yeah, everything that Node offers. If anybody comes up with a new runtime and tell me like, yeah, we have this, then I say like, yeah, that's what you should have, because that's what you're competing with, right? Interesting here is that they have a Cloudflare API compatibility, and I think Cloudflare Workers is an own runtime already, and it became very popular in the recent years. So this might be a interesting feature here. As Laurie said, they support also Hono, and they also support another. And question is, as Laurie states, would it work with Meteor? I'm not sure if it will work with Meteor, because it's the same problem as with Bun. Meteor has a very special way for resolving modules, and a very special way how the build tool works currently. So unless we have modern build tools in it, it will be hard to say, or hard to instantly drop in, replace things as we already tried with Bun. At least I tried it with Bun and basically came to the point that module resolution does not work one-on-one with you expect it to happen. So if anyone is out there and having some free time for experimentations like these, give it a try. Maybe you can figure something out. Would be cool.
Speaking of the build tools, in not the next episode, not this week coming up, this Friday, but the next Friday, we have an episode that's focused entirely on the build tool and how that works and how replacements work within Meteor. So if you're interested, we'll be talking about that on the 29th. Is that right?
Yeah, 29th.
On the 29th.
Keep your binoculars ready for in the next
Exactly. So wait, hold on a second, because we now have to we're still working on the news here, right?
You're still working on news. It's still a big block of news, because there were many things left on the table. So maybe we just move on. Something more Meteor internal or Meteor specific. There is a ESLint plugin, Meteor Error, and this is actually interesting because this is something I already tried by hand all the time and never thought about just writing a simple ESLint plugin. It simply checks if you use Meteor.error instead of a default error. Although I have to say, sometimes when I want to be formally correct, I also use things like type error, which is a form of a native error and stuff like this. So you have to be careful in which way you use it. Of course, it's a very young plugin, just has been released. But you should give it a try. I think this makes it very it will improve in some ways definitely your overall code quality, because if you throw Meteor error within a method or within a publication, then there is a default determined way on how it's reported to the client. Either you have a sanitized version, then it will be sent to the client, or you can make it client compatible. It's all up in the Meteor documentation if you don't know what this is about. But mostly this tool helps you to only write Meteor error instead of a plain error. That's the basic thing, right? And if you find something off, something weird, then join the conversation. And if you find this is great, also join the conversation. Also, please leave a star to these repositories. We have to show the people who create packages that their work is not only used but also appreciated, because this is important for them to see, oh cool, okay, people like what I do, people it helps people. This is the only feedback you sometimes can give.
And speaking of which, if you're finding value in what we're doing here today, we would love it if you would just click on the like and subscribe buttons. That helps us get discovered by more people on YouTube. And it helps the YouTube algorithm share the work that we do here with others, that then hopefully brings them into using Meteor and learning about Meteor.
Correct. And there's also something else, like coming from a package, there is something else that is also very interesting, and this is file-based routing. So if you worked with some other frameworks, or for example, me in React Native, or with other tools, there is since quite like 2 or 3 years, there was a trend to file-based routing. So instead of having an imperative approach where you say, this is my router, please connect all my in code defined routes to the router, and this is the name, this is the route, this is the page to render, and so on. You just drop in things into your file system, and then it automatically resolves the routes. Lots of static site generators have this as a totally standard feature, because on static site generation, this is pretty easy, right? And but we are creating dynamic apps, so it's a little bit different here. And we usually have client-side routing and not server-side routing, or like the classic route structure. And this is interesting from a viewpoint that the TAN stack, which is basically a tool of a tool belt, a modern tool belt of certain things around React and things like charts, forms, tables, something you already remember from Meteor, like Tabular for tables, for example, or for AutoForm for forms. And we also have our routers, but then there's the TAN stack router. This is some kind of a TypeScript mix for routing on React, and you can drop in it basically with your file system. And then this user, Hamal R87, created also a demo for it. You could check it out. And if this is interesting for you, maybe you can wrap it up in a Meteor package or something and provide it as a out-of-the-box community package. So just raising awareness on these things, I really like that. And also hitting a like on that, for example.
Yeah. It's an alternate way to navigate your application with your React-based applications, right?
And I mean, the advantage is, of course, I always favor descriptiveness over imperativeness. So everything you don't have to write as an imperative code, as a routine, and saying like, oh, and you have to do this and you have to do that. But if I can write this declaratively, for example, using a JSON file, or even easier, just by placing files with the correct naming in the correct folder structure and let the framework do the work. This is so much relief on your mental capacities. Sure. Because you don't have to interpret any code. You just have a static structure, and interpreting a static structure is much easier than interpreting your imperative code, where you first have to decipher what it doesn't want to tell me, what it intends to, and what it actually does and stuff. And so from my perspective, this is where Meteor as a framework, as a build tool in general should go. Less imperativeness, more declarativeness. And this is a good example that it already works with existing tools. And as I see, Gabriel is already commenting, and he's always commenting on these new things. He's always very impressed. And I like the idea that he always looks for these new tools. I observed that a bit. He always looks for these new tools. What do the others do? What is actually out there in the market? What would work? What could we benefit from? And I hope the Meteor team as a whole picks up on these ideas a little bit more and looks for ways to make Meteor profit and benefit from these tools out there, right?
Yeah, I think he's very open-minded to new ideas.
It is very important, right?
Yeah.
For getting into new spheres, new form, new features.
All right, what do we have next?
Okay, there are 3 more items, and then we go back to our Safari. There was another thing, yet another framework this time. So you know how it is. Every week, a new framework. This time it's called AnalogJS. And it also contains, as you see, file-based routing. It's a classic static server-side rendering, static site generating thing. It has a hybrid approach. And so the classic approach of many of these modern frameworks is, or the use cases are rather static sites, blocks, e-commerce systems and things, and usually not the typical use case for Meteor. Still, there's one thing very interesting here, and this is they use Nitro, and I found Nitro to be the next generation server toolkit. Nitro is part of the UnJS, Universal JS, Universal JavaScript tools, or no, unified JavaScript tools. Sorry. And there I already found the H3, which is a minimal HTTP framework. It's similar to Express or Hono or something like this. And I found these tools very interesting. So I definitely I followed them already. I keep definitely looking and watching them, and you should do too. I think they create very interesting stuff.
What is really interesting on this, by the way, I mean, their front end, preferred front end on this, I believe, is Angular, right? And they use Vite as a build tool. The other thing I find very interesting about this is you could see this, right? You could see that when frameworks started getting more and more complex and they start adding lots of features, there's this reaction from some community members to say, we would prefer it to be more minimalist, more simplified.
Yeah.
And then they start pushing away from those more complex, because I think this is what happens with these frameworks when they come out is, they hit sort of like, the happy path of issues, and then they have to start taking in all these edge cases. And when they start taking in all of these things, you start getting more complex systems, right? And it becomes harder and harder to build and to work with, or it becomes more bloated.
This is like every time a new of them comes out, because the cycle repeats again and again.
Exactly.
And
and then there's this reaction where people say, okay, enough of this. I want a simpler time. I want something that is not so complicated. I don't need to, it's becoming far too heavy. And when you go back to the I don't want you to go back, but I'm just going to point out, when we're talking about the TAN stack is sort of that reaction also. It is almost as if it's saying, look, there are so many different, things that you could have, your front end, your middleware, and so on. We have pre-selected and said, this is part of, it's very opinionated. This is what the stack is going to be. These are the approved pieces. And if you're going to say it's TAN stack, you must use only these items. I think that's the philosophy. Maybe I've got it wrong, but I think that's the idea behind it. And it's sort of like saying, let's remove all this overhead. Let's not put everything in and try to be a solution for everybody, because there are other solutions out there that try to do that. So if you want to do that, go do that.
But this is also just to think again here on this, what you said with the ever evolving cycle. I think this became more complex with the split in so many front-end engines. So you basically have the same repeating pattern also for different front ends. For example, this one, the AnalogJS, is very close bundled towards Angular, while the TAN stack is clearly bundled on React.
That's right.
And so are there other solutions for Vue. And you have the automatically form builder for Vue. You have a form building tool for React, which is, by the way, also uniforms, if you know, or if people know.
No, I don't know that one.
Which is also used by a few, by quite a lot members in the Meteor community, I think. Is also provided by Vasco. But there's also a form building tool for Vue, and there's also a front-end agnostic form building tool that only looks towards being a Tailwind component mashup and stuff. So you have a multi-dimensional ever evolving system here, and but still I try to keep eye on these things, because sometimes they do a few things right. Sometimes they're just a good combination of existing things that are just work nice together, and I think they are going in a good direction here, right?
I think one of the reasons to stick with this is, as people go back and say, let's simplify again, the challenges that they faced that were resolved with older systems but now have gotten bloated and so on. They start bringing back those things because now they're saying, oh, this is a real issue that people have. And then they solve for them, and they may solve for them in a more unique way or a cleaner way, right, than had been done in the past. And so, yeah, you will find innovations in these, and I think that's one of the reasons that you want to look at them, is because maybe you won't use it, but maybe there's something there that you could take to your project. Maybe there's something that's going on there that Meteor could benefit from, and if we go down that path, we can make Meteor better as a developer experience or performance or whatever it might be. What you choose your metric, right?
This is how artists and movie makers work all the time. They are inspired by details of others. I mean, they're obviously not trying to be copycats unless they want to do some B-movie stuff or something. But usually it's like they take details from others and try to incorporate into their works, creating something entirely new, but with an existing. And some of these features, they become so popular that you start to get tired of them until someone comes and breaks with this, basically, right?
Yeah. Yes. So I think this is it's really great that you're pointing this out. Of course, there are people that are a little tired of all of these changes, right? And they joke about it.
So because we're just talking about ever-emerging things, if you want to contribute to ever-emerging things, there are only 20 JavaScript runtimes left. So here's the thing. JavaScript runtimes usually should be the names should be a permutation of the letter node. And so it's Dino, for example. And 4 of these are already taken: Node, Dino, Endo, and Dion. And as you know, the permutation of 4 is like 4 faculty is 24. So there are 20 left. And this article goes through a little bit of them, a few of them, and what options you have. They try to draw a curve. How we end up and stuff. So just a nice thing here. But here's the thing. These are only the 20 variations left for the word node, because now we have also bun, so there could also be nub or whatever. And then so it's not the only thing. And my prediction is that by 2030 we have like 100 JavaScript engines, JavaScript runtimes, and nobody knows anymore where to look at first.
Yeah.
So it's getting crazy right now. It's getting a little bit out of hand, and I think this was also reported a few times already in the JavaScript state of JavaScript survey, that the ecosystem is quite growing very fast.
Yeah.
And it's sometimes too fast for people, and I can totally understand that, because you're just deep enough into one thing. And you just realize that there are already 10 new things on the market, and you don't know which of them will be the next one that is breaking through in the next 10 years, right? And this whole fear of missing out, the FOMO, that can be quite hard on some people. So you have to be careful on that. And things like these, I mean, this article has some satirical.
It's entirely satirical. It's entirely
I love
satirical.
These kinds. It's great, right? Right. By the way, there was a funny moment. I read the article from Adam
Solov or Solov.
Adam Solov. Yeah, Adam Solov. And there was also another article on constraint programming, and this is rather classical computer science topic, and how you can use constraint solvers to create more versatile user interfaces and stuff. And I was I was watching, like, okay, is there a constraint solver in JS? And then I was looking like, oh, KiwiJS. I knew this. I already looked at it in the past. I knew that this name was very familiar. And then I found, like, oh wait, there is a new fork. Okay, look at that. And then I remember, hey, I know this org, the Loom org, and I know this guy who owns this org. So this is actually the true skater who's also still active in the Meteor forums. And I was thinking, like, man, even if this whole stuff is growing a lot and you find thousands of articles on the internet, everything is still very close related to each other. You need like 5 clicks to come back to something you already knew. That's interesting, right?
It is. It is.
It is.
Okay. Let's blow through the rest of this news here. What do we have left?
Just one more. It's just one more topic. So Grapher, there is a new release of Grapher. So our very own storyteller, an update on Grapher. And for those who don't know what Grapher is, this is basically a GraphQL-like handling of your data queries and mutations, but using Meteor. So it's not, you're not installing GraphQL, but you have a similar comfort to GraphQL. And so some people, I think that's the message of Storyteller. Some people thought this became some kind of abandoned or something, and Storyteller keeps up and keeps up the good work and just wants to tell every people there is a new version out there. Please, everybody, take a look at this, especially if you use Grapher. I also found in the discussion there's still people. I mean, there's also some argument on from Paul on why Mongo aggregate is also a very powerful alternative, and I totally agree. Mongo aggregations can be a very powerful tool. I also know from somebody else that they can also quite consume a lot of resources. That's the other Jan from Germany told me that. And but seems to be that there's still people using that, and we just wanted to know that it still exists and there's a new version out there. And I think we are finally done with the news. This time was a big news blog, and I hope the wild Meteor apps didn't already run away and now hide somewhere in the bushes.
Well, maybe we should look for them. Maybe we should, try to spot them while we still can.
Yeah.
Are you seeing any? Can you find any?
So let me take a look here. So
okay,
I see some from Germany out there, but I don't know if
get
you
to those
see any.
in a little bit. We're gonna get to those in a little bit. Let me
I see them more in the more far away. So we still they're in the grass and eating. They're eating. We have time on that.
Okay, they're grazing, as they say. Hang on a second, and let me just switch over here. And so one of the first ones that we've spotted in the wild is a crowdfunding site for people that have pets that need care. And this is a really cool thing. But how do we know that this is a Meteor site? And there are a couple of ways to know this. One is you could use a applet like TextFound, right? Where we go, and it will tell you, or something like Wappleizer, which will also tell you something about it. But one of the easiest ways you can figure out whether or not an application or a website is using Meteor is by going to the console and typing in the Meteor keyword, right? The object name, and you should be able to see something. And we're seeing things here. It's showing that the JavaScript object is there for Meteor, and we see that Meteor is actually installed here. So there are a couple of ways to find this. I happen to know this application because I was involved in helping to find the team that actually worked on it. So that is there. And actually, this is behind my camera right now, so I can't quite see where the how to close that out. Okay, there it is. All right. So Waggle, as I said, is an application that, at first they were using. It's very interesting to see that they actually are using Meteor all the way through, because they were only going to use it for the application. I don't have an account here, so I can't really show you, but most of these are actually apps that are run. They're powered by Meteor, and that's what they were using it first for. But it looks like they're running the entire site on Meteor now, which is pretty cool. So if you have a pet, how this works is if you have a pet and they need care and you don't have the money for it, you can use the site to raise money for it, just like a GoFundMe or any other crowdsourcing tool. And instead of the money coming to you personally, so to avoid any kind of fraud, the money goes to the doctor. So if you say you need $2,000 to pay for your veterinary bills, you raise the money goes to the doctor, it pays the bill, your animal gets the care that it needs. So I thought this is a really fun and interesting application. They've been doing well for a while, and they've apparently had over 50,000 donors that have contributed. They've raised about $3 million towards care, and they have over 1,000 veterinarians that have provided services there. So I think this is only in the United States. So I don't know if they have anything international, but I would suggest that you check it out. It's waggle, waggle.org, and it's worth a look. The next site that I have, we just went through before, and we've spoken a lot about it. It's just, again, it's one of those things where you should just give it a shot. You can upload something here, like here's a 247 megabyte thing, and okay, now you need to log in to do it. But it's just a very simple interface. You click on this, you upload the file, and then it would just push it up into the cloud. So, like I said, very sweet, very simple, very easy to use. And there is a lifetime discount being offered today. So think about going there and signing up for it. If you're going to try to get the discount, you have to go through Product Hunt. So I would suggest that you go to the Product Hunt page and do that there. The third one that I want to show you is, again, one of the things I love about some of these Meteor applications, these Meteor sites that have applications in them, is just how simple they are. They're just minimal. They're beautiful. They're very useful. They do one or two things very, very well. I would say that Waggle is doing a lot of different things, but in the case of something like Sidebar IO, which was created. Now, this is a site that gives you put your email address in, and then you get a daily update of 5 design items, articles to read every day. And this is built by Sasha Grief. And if you know, Sasha is one of the guys that did a lot of work with Meteor many, many years ago. He built this a long time ago. It is still running on Meteor. He updates it fairly frequently. You could see that the most recent update was 2.7.3, which is not too long ago. And so it is, although it's been around for a while, it also is being maintained and updated. Now, these are some small things. One was a nonprofit. You're not entirely sure whether or not this is significant. One of the places that is using Meteor, again, for its entire site, is the University of Pennsylvania's M Health Center. So this is their portal for their medical facility. And they are using Meteor for their application here. And we could see that it's a long-running app. So they've used it they built this a long time ago. 1.4 is probably going back to about 2016 or 2017. And it hasn't been updated there. And what this tells me, by the way, and the University of Pennsylvania is an Ivy League university in the United States. It's a really big deal. And their medical facilities are also very important. We have regulations that govern how these types of portals should be built and how they should be maintained and how they manage data. And it is using Meteor and it is using Blaze. And, you think to yourself that this has been around for, what are we talking about? Almost 8 years. right? And it is still running. So that tells you something about the reliability and robustness of applications that are well built with Meteor. So I think that is pretty good. So we have one of the newest ones, which is Dr. Dimitri's Meteor files that is built on Meteor. And we have something that has been running for a very, very long time on what might be considered a legacy Meteor application. And finally, one of the things I want to bring in is just to talk very briefly about some of the old tools that are used, like Rocket Chat and Wecken. There are many, many sites, if you go looking and hunting, that are built on these two platforms. And this is an example of a site that is built using Rocket Chat. You know that because when you take a look at the tab icon, you could see the Rocket Chat logo is still there. They never changed it. And it's, again, running a Meteor. Let's see if we can get a version number on this. Meteor 1.4, right? It is an older version of Meteor that is running there, and it is a private portal that is being used internally, and it's still live and going well apparently for Policy Bazaar. So that's what I got here for some of my examples of Meteor in the wild. So let's take that.
Yeah.
Off, and we can put you in.
Yeah, just before I show you the wild German species we found, I just wanted to comment. So in the lists we checked, we found the majority of them being Wecken and Rocket Chat instances. And I mean, this shows how popular these tools are, especially because they're company internal tools. Most of them are company internal. And you see that already under the domain. It's like subdomain, bigtechcompany.com. Yeah.
Yep.
We found Audi, Bosch, Siemens, and banks. So everything you can think of. And they always have some kind of a Wecken board or Rocket Chat running. And so just also pointing to the Meteor team and the community, consider Meteor also as an important player of providing software for company internal processes, because some of these processes are complex web apps, right?
Yeah.
And now we take a look at this species here. I even found a way to make it talk English. It provided a way to talk English. So this is a digitized collection of the Staatsbibliothek, the the State Library of Berlin. And this is a very specialized one, which has, if you can, for example, browse by subjects, they have original scans of certain historical documents from war, art, from certain regions, also sometimes maybe colonialism included, music. Take a look at music. Oh my God. There are like all these original scans, and then you have this it's all free and accessible, so you don't have to log in or enter or something, and then you have this high quality images of these scans, allowing you to do your research basically with these. I mean, this is awesome if you're historian, or if you're working in some field where you need access to these kinds of documents. This is just perfect. I mean, how often, I don't know if anyone who's working in the science field or in other related fields, how hard it is to get access to some of these kinds of documents. This is and this is awesome. And this is all a Meteor app. So what do we have here? Let me check. This is Meteor 2.4.1. So it's not too old. It's not the newest anymore, but it's also not too old. I think like 2.4.1 was like 2 or 3 years or something ago. But it's an interesting build. Let's take a look if we can find out on its engine. So if we enter package, we can take a look here, and it looks like it's using Blaze. because there is Blaze in the package. And I think if we take a look at, there's also nothing about Meteor React data or something. So React fast refresh is still there, but this is not because there's React added, but this is something else. And I think it's not using, I think this is removed in newer versions. This is only contained now in React apps. But apart from that, this is a classic Blaze app, I think. And it looks good.
Yeah.
And it works good. This is also important, that it works as expected. There's also a beta version with brand new features, but I'm not sure if this beta version is still using Meteor.
Okay.
It's also 2.4.1, so it's more of an internal one. And coming from the historically influenced things, there is also something again in the health sector. So this is a platform of the AOK, which is basically the biggest public insurance in Germany. And so we have like the biggest amount of people, the great amount of people, the majority is in the public insurance, and only a small portion of people use have a private insurance. And of the public insurances, the AOK is the biggest insurance of all of them, and they have for each state and region their own sub domains, basically, because we are also a federal state, and we have federal law and we have some state laws, and especially these insurances, they have for each state, they have their own jurisdiction, their own, what's the name of these sub part of them, right? And on Baden-Württemberg, which is in the southwest of Germany, they provided a platform for online nursing classes, so as a supplementary thing to the nursing apprenticeship. And I just registered there and took a look, like, because it's also free to register to anyone. And I was looking things like, it's all in German, but it's like a self e-learning platform where you basically have certain parts of the curriculum, like fundamentals, Alzheimer and dementia, how to live and care when you're older, legal things, prevention, and other stuff. And let me just start, just show you. But so it's a classical self-learning thing. You have a introduction, and then for this it starts some kind of a presentation style course and have some content. You have to read through it. So this is a little bit static, but it sometimes also contains some interaction things. And then you have things. This is more of the overview, introduction, and I have cleared this. I could easily go to the next module, and then some of them provide also some interesting things, like this one has some kind of a assessment inside. So how to assess the level of necessity for nursing, right? When you're at a certain age, and then there are different levels of care required, right? And this has legal implications. If you're level 1, you will not get lots of state funding for any care services. But when you're level 5, and this is like an assessment here, like, okay, she can move arms and legs, no, and then and so on. Some can the person move on their own or not? And let's say they can't do that on their own, right? So everything is not on their own. And then it's on cognitive things, like, is this cognitive ability is there? So that person would be like, okay, before I click through everything, but it's like self-assessment, and helps you to make this. And then that's interesting, because this is basically rather static, but it's still made with Meteor, and it just shows how nicely things can be built also with Meteor, even if you could also say, yeah, I could also use the static site generator. And I think this is built on Meteor 2.13. So it's something newer. It's not that old.
That's right.
13 is last year.
So, I think one of the things I think that's really cool. And when we say last year, it's only a few months ago that last year was here with 13.
Yep.
So when we're talking about these, it's like, yes, there are some old applications that are still running. They're robust and whatever. And there are some applications that have been running for a while and have been updated, but there are still new applications that are coming out that are built on Meteor. I think Jan had found one, Storyteller had found one, where it's being used in the agricultural industry. Isn't that correct?
Yes.
Are you able to pull that up?
Yeah, I wanted. Sorry, I just I don't know why I just accidentally closed it, so I have to reopen it. Give me just a second.
Sure.
The name was
Mohe agdata.cz.
So
you got it?
Let me bring that up again here. So this right. And do they have a
try agdata, just try agdata.cz, and maybe that'll show you the front end of the application.
Just let me see. No, this is actually the application here. But let me see if we go on that. That will be the landing page. I think the landing page is not on Build on Meteor, but it shows you. So it's a digital. Oh, it's also, this provides something in English, right?
Yeah.
So this is a smart agriculture system somehow. Online system managing family farms and large farms. So it's mostly an information management system for farming.
Data management, yes.
Yes. And the app itself, I think the landing page is not written in Meteor. Oh, sorry. Yes, but the app itself was written in Meteor.
Yes.
And that was Meteor 2.1.1. So it's also a little bit older.
Couple years.
And also let me check if I open package. Let's see if they have. Oh, they have lots of custom package. Look at that. So do we want to see if Pacosphere has them? Well, let's look if Pacosphere has agdata. No, okay, that's all private. So they seems
they've
like
done a lot of customization on their own.
Yeah. I think they forked lots of things and built lots of stuff around that. Makes sense if you have a long-term vision on your product and you want to have keep control on things, especially also related to all this packages, deprecation, and so on. Then, and even maybe they have an internal build pipeline. I mean, look at the vast amount of packages they have here, right? But they also have Blaze HTML Blaze as a tool here.
Yeah.
So which is, by the way, which also has been used here. So they also use Blaze.
Yes.
And so this shows Blaze is not dead, people. Blaze is used by real companies and it's still in use. And
I think part of it is just the idea that it's a relatively simple templating tool that allows you to build your applications pretty quickly. So I think there is some utility there that people don't want to necessarily have to learn React or Angular or Vue or Solid, right? It's they just go with a bundled tool, and it works.
Yeah, and I mean the Blaze integration with Meteor is still one that feels very natural because it was built from the ground up together with Meteor, right?
Yep. All right, I'm going to because we're kind of spending a lot of time. I want to move on with some of these others, and these are mostly applications that are built with Meteor. So the front end is actually not Meteor; it's built with something else. Here is a Japanese website that creates invoices. for your company. It's a service company, and it's called Ship and Co. And here it does not use Meteor, but when you go to the login and you go to the application itself over here, it's powered by Meteor, and it's using 2.13. And from the looks of it, from this tool, it appears that it is using Blaze. I don't want to spend too much more time with it, but again, we see the handlebars here. We're not really seeing another templating or front-end framework that's mentioned here. So it is very likely that that is how that works. I want to go to one of the ones that is really the big success story. This was a company, Hive Teams is a company that was built by a couple of folks several years back. It's built entirely with Meteor. They're one of the first companies that actually utilized the Redis op log to deal with some of their large-scale scaling issues. And as far as I know, they're still using it. I am in the app here because I have an account, and we could tell that it is, oops, I'm sorry, I hit the wrong button. We could tell that Hive Teams is, using Meteor, because when we take a look over here, we see that it uses Meteor, uses handlebars, which is basically Blaze. So this is a Blaze application. No, they're also using React. So it may be that they started with Blaze at one time and they're rewriting some of it in React. I can see that they've got styled components here as part of this. And so they are still running on Meteor. They're running Meteor 2.11. And because this application is a competitor to something like Trello. It's for project planning and so on. And because of this, they need to be stable. They have a lot of customers, and they're not just going to use the latest version of anything. It's going to take a while for them to move from one version to the other. There's a lot of planning. I know the CTO, his name is Eric DePaldush. He was part of the New York community. Hive, in a sense, was launched in New York. It was, Eric was hired in New York for this project by the CEO. And anyway, it is one of, I think, the best examples out there. There is another one we didn't have on our list, but I found afterwards. There is this little Slack application. If you've been in Slack and you use Poly, I think Poly is a tool that allows you to do little polls in Slack. And this is the dashboard that you would come in to customize your Poly experience. And believe it or not, it's written in Meteor. The application is built with Meteor. And I was really surprised to find this one. I did not know this. So Meteor shows up hidden to the world, right? There is nothing that says over here powered by Meteor. I wish they did, because that would tell more people and inform more people about just how useful it is. So Poly is something that's been out for a little while. And here's the dashboard. And if you sign in with Slack, it probably will give you access. I don't have a paid Slack account, so, go try it. Tell us about it. If you've gone through it and you've been there before and then let us know a little bit more about it. There is a car dealership in Dallas, Texas, in the United States called Friendly Chevy Dealer. And this is their front end. And this is their website, but it's a website that is not built with Meteor. What they have is they have their digital signage application that is built with Meteor. And so again and again, you find that there are a lot of workflow tools or back-end tools that are not necessarily customer-facing or front-end facing that are actually built with Meteor. And we see that they've used a version of Angular here. And when we take a look over here, we see that it's actually a fairly recent version of Meteor. I'm really surprised that there is a Meteor application running on Angular 1.8. We haven't seen a lot of updates to the Angular documentation. So obviously these guys have done some work, and I wish we knew who they were, because I think they would probably have something to teach us about using Angular, modern Angular with Meteor. And I think that would be great if they could make a contribution to the open source community. There is this online bank that called Firefighters First. It's a credit union, again, here in the United States. And The website itself is not built with Meteor, but here's the thing: they have it's a blank page here, and it's a blank page because they've got security. If you're supposed to log in from their front end and then get to the statements page, right? So let me see if I connect. Hang on, what's holding me back here? There's something here that is preventing me from clicking.
Disclaimer on the bottom. It wants you to click.
Oh, okay. I'm going to decline that. Okay, yeah. Great, beautiful. I'm going to click to. No, that's not the way. Let's see. Here's the secure login. Okay, so no, it's not using that there, but the statement generation portion of this is built with Meteor. And again, it's one of those where it's been built, running on Meteor 2.5, handlebars, and we can't really see the experience, but we know that there is a backend tool that has been used at least to build part of the application with Meteor, and this is a bank, right? So financial services using Meteor, okay? And there is Piper Aircraft. It's a small plane company, again, in the United States, and they have their chat login, right? It's a workspace for employees that uses Rocket Chat. So again, we have another instance of a company that is using for their enterprise systems. They're using Meteor in there. So I think we've shown like there are a number of different industries that are using Meteor even today. And so if you're thinking that, oh, we can't use Meteor for this, we can't use Meteor for that because it just won't work or nobody's using it, I think we've shown some examples of where you can find it. The automotive retail industry, right? We have the aircraft, we have a bank, we have project management, and we have bot applications that are using Meteor.
And I have two more educational applications as well.
Sure. So can I switch back to you now?
Yeah, you can do.
Okay.
So I have also Boom Cards, which is a interesting tool when it comes to make gamification available in your classroom. So it's basically you have some learning resources and then you can share them in a way that your students can play some kind of quizzle games around these resources and also get some rankings, get some bonus points and so on. And I think there is a demo here, a sample deck. So you have a lesson because blah, 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 and then you have some kind of introductory, then how to play it and stuff, and then you can pin it, go to play. Okay, that was just the way how the engine feels. So this is the card engine that the teacher might display on the screen, and for the students there are some apps you can download, and I think this website is using Meteor 2.13 as well, and it also runs on Blaze. At least that's what I found here was. Yep, this also uses Blaze, and this is I didn't know this before that this exists, although I'm myself working in the educational department. But sometimes
you build a lot of things with Meteor also, right, in education?
Yes, it is, and I will cover that once. I will cover the tools we have once there is some time. There will be a publication also soon. But there's one more. This is one more popular. This is actually Classcraft. And if you ever worked in the ed tech, then you definitely heard of it. So this is basically classcraft.com. This is basically the gamification of learning platform. So this is not. This is actually making things really gamified, and I see there are actually no interesting screenshots here right now because they actually had a very gamified approach already. And This is also running on Meteor, I think 2.7.3. It's a little bit older, which I didn't expect for a commercial product like this. But it's also running, it also has some of their own, as you can see. It also has a canvas OAuth. So if you don't know, canvas is one of the that's an Ivy League of the classroom management systems, but this is, I think, developed in Ruby or something. Just for you to know. But a part of that, they're using Blaze. Yeah. So as you see, Blaze is all around. It's everywhere.
Yeah. Well, I'll give you one more. I sent you in a link in the chat, in the private chat, for TutorMundi.
Oh, yes.
And TutorMundi is a Brazilian educational platform. And you could pull that up. And this is, of course, is their front end is in WordPress. But when you go to the app, it is in Meteor.
So when I go here to the login page, yeah. Yes, and I think if I remember correctly, this is also Blaze.
It's also Blaze.
Yeah, I assume. I'm not sure anymore, but I think it was because no, it's not. It is, yeah.
Yeah, it is Blaze.
This is also by community member Bart Sturm, who is still active in the Slack and forums. I see him from time to time, and we already mentioned him in our debugging episode because he gave a talk at the Meteor Impact Conference on debugging. And this is basically his product, right?
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Yes. You know, we reached out to the community to say, you know, if you know of applications in the wild that and some people got confused by this. They thought, oh, if you know something other than the thing I built. But here's the thing. Many people have built things that the community doesn't know about, and they're not showing up necessarily on the showcase page. We do have a showcase page on the Meteor website that shows most of many different popular, if you want to call them that, implementations with Meteor. But many of the ones that we showed you today don't show up on that page at all. So TutorMundi does, Classcraft does. There are a handful of others here that does. I think Hive Teams might be also on it. But many of the other ones that we showed you before, the Chevrolet, the bank, the aircraft, I believe also the German ones, you know, and the Japanese shipping company, invoice company doesn't show up. So we thought that should help inspire people to, you know, build your projects with Meteor. Why not? Right?
Yeah. I mean, also, it just shows there is much more out there than we know. I mean, we can only reflect on what happens in the community, who is active, who shows things like how should we otherwise get this information unless we actively take our binoculars out and look for these things, right?
Absolutely. Hey, where are they? Where are they?
You know, but I think there is still this awesome Meteor list on GitHub, and we might also take a look at if there is something to complete there with these applications, so that we as a community also keep growing and keep track of what exists out there.
Yeah. So we'll bring them as much as we can find them. But if you know of others out there that we don't know about, we haven't mentioned, that you think are pretty good implementations, I have a link on the forums for this episode. In there, I ask about this. Go check it out, because there's some fields of information that if you fill that out and share it with us, it will help us present those sites in a meaningful way and let more and more people know about them. And I think what we're going to probably do is redo some of these just to kind of highlight these individual sites and do them as shorts, because I think that would be great for you know, Twitter, for YouTube, and it'll just help publicize, I think, Meteor a lot more. Let people know Meteor success stories, in the sense that applications have been built with this, people rely on it, they are still being used. And you know, I think that's a good thing.
this also goes to you. So all our videos are remixable. This means if you have a tablet or a mobile phone with the YouTube app running on it, then you can automatically use the remix button. Just select these segments you want to remix, and you can. That's the cool thing. You can just select the shorts format for the remix and easily create a new short out of it and just publish it. That's for us. That's totally fine. We even want that. We want you to do that because this promotes the community as a whole in the end.
Okay, there is a user here. I can't read the name because it looks like it's in Cyrillic. But he says it seems German library opens in Germany.
Only in Germany? Oh, that's interesting.
Where are you writing from? Where are you browsing from?
This I didn't know, but that's interesting to see.
Yeah, it may
Alan,
be.
can you open it?
Let me go
giving
and
you
try.
the link in the private chat, and I'm sending you it.
You're sending me it in private chat, so let me check.
Yeah.
No, it opens here. It may be that if you are in, if he's coming from Russia, there may be some blocks.
That depends on. This also depends on the. There maybe there are some contracts behind all this, because this is so. We have a very, very strict system on how copyright is actually handled and how the micro funding of any copyright access copyright content is paid out. So we had for a very long time, for example, no videos on YouTube available that were available in the US for ages. We couldn't watch them because some of these videos were not YouTube simply didn't pay it to the GEMA, and but I don't know if I think this is not GEMA content, but maybe this is subject to some copyrighted thing.
Could be. I mean, I'm showing here that I have it on my browser, and I can go to it and I can scroll, and I don't know. I'm sure there's some restrictions on what I can see and what I can do, but for now, I'm able to do this. I'm sorry you're not able to do it, but again, if you're able to let us know where you're from, maybe that might give some insight into what's going on there. All right, and with that, I think we are done with this portion of the Safari. So now we've come back to our offices, and we have to do some, basic information that we try to share with you, like on conferences. Do you want to do the conferences? Do you want to do the CFPs?
Oh, that's a good question.
Yeah.
It's not much. I mean, let's do it like this. Last time I did the CFPs. This time I'm doing the conferences. Okay. So first of all, there is the JavaScript days on March 18th.
Happening right now.
Huh?
It's happening right now.
Oh my God, that's so bad. That happens if you don't read anything before the show.
That's okay.
Actually,
that's okay.
It's just right now. So the question is, if you ever able to attend this right now, maybe there is a late coming ticket with.
If anybody's attending it right now, right? Yeah. Come back and tell us what you saw that was interesting. Right? Bring some notes and tell us what they're talking about. Tell us what the new trends are. Let's find out. Right? Okay.
And there's definitely if you still want to do a conference, there's the Web Dev Day 2024, which is an online conference, and this happens on March 20. So this is this Wednesday, and that should be. You should still be able to attend that if you're interested in. And then there is, again, what Jan already mentioned, Storyteller, is the fest.dev in Krakow, which is also a JavaScript conference. And this is on March 22. So it's basically starting this Friday.
This Friday,
and Then there is on the March 22nd. This is also
same day. You have to choose. You
no,
have
no,
to
the other.
you either have to go to Paris or you have to go to Krakow. They're two
Oh my
different
God,
conferences.
that's a tough decision. I haven't been to any of these places. I wouldn't know where to go actually.
Yeah.
And I know people have strong opinions on either of the cities, so I don't know.
I haven't been to Krakow. I'd like to go. I've been to Paris. I like Paris. I don't have a problem there. You know, where I'd like to go is there is a band called Alphaville from the 1980s. That they're a German band. I love them, and they sing a song called "Summer in Berlin." And I would love to go to Berlin one day. And I know that DevOpsCon is happening on April 1st. That's the deadline for the call for papers. If you want to go, I don't have a talk that I could possibly send there, but maybe you could help me come up with one so I can finally go to Berlin.
Yeah.
You know,
I can think about something. It definitely needs to cover some kind of cultural community, some topics on diversity, some topics on equality, and on and it must be non-commercial, and then they love you, and it must be artistic, and they will love you.
All right. So
just one thing on Alphaville. Actually, the interesting thing is that the most popular song in Germany from Alphaville is "Big in Japan."
Oh yeah.
I was always thinking like, I would love to go to Tokyo.
Oh, sure. Yeah. You know, there's a story behind that where they said that, you know, back in the 80s, like, you know, if you wanted to be somebody, you know, if you made it big in Japan, then that was like, oh, you really made it, you know. So that was sort of the genesis behind that. There is also the UtahJS conference 2024. Their deadline is the 3rd, and that's happening in Sandy, Utah. And for that one, I will be submitting a paper on sort of the revival of Meteor with Meteor 3.0, sort of like the Meteor next stage. I'm still trying to figure out exactly what the story is going to be and how I'm going to do this. There's no guarantee that they're going to accept it, but I would love to see more than one paper submission to either of these. I think we have a better chance with the UtahJS because it's not so specific to something like DevOps. But, you know, there is, I think, from the Meteor team, and I think Felipe had said it once, it's, you know, that Meteor is sort of the no DevOps platform. And so I think there might be something, if they are bold and willing to accept a paper or a talk on that, where somebody goes and talks about how Meteor is the no DevOps
Avoid DevOps by using Meteor. Save your DevOps engineer money and just use Meteor, and everybody will be like, do you want to make us unemployed?
It's like AI is already coming to kill our jobs, you know. Now we're going to now Meteor is going to do the same thing. All right. So I want to give a shout out to Gabriel, who's been in the chat today with us. It's, I don't know if he's still there, but thank you for joining us. We have this other gentleman that I had pointed out before that I don't know how to say the username because it is in a language that I just don't know how to do this.
It is Ivan. It's Ivan Chalik. It's Cyrillic.
It's Ivan Chalik. Okay, somebody knows Cyrillic on this, which is great because I don't. So I barely speak English, and that's my only tongue. So, you know, it's we'll see how that goes. And by the way, if you've been with us all this time so far, please consider subscribing to the channel. That way you get notifications of the next episodes as they come. And next episode, we're going to be bringing in Harry Adele this Friday. We hope to have Dr. Dimitri with us to give us a little bit of rundown, maybe a demo on Meteor files. And maybe Gabriel Gruba will also be joining us to give us some updates on the latest version of Meteor, that Meteor 3 that has dropped, which is the, I think we talked about this at the top of the news, Meteor 3.0 release 6. Is that what it is? The alpha? No, we're in beta, right? Meteor 3.0 beta 6. So hopefully Gabriel will be able to join us this Friday. That's what I mean. And then the following Friday after that, we will be diving deep into build tools. The Meteor build tool itself, we're going to have Nacho Codonor, who is on the Meteor team, will be coming on. And I think, Küster, you will be having a conversation with him.
Yeah.
And we will see what we can learn and get some deep knowledge about the Meteor build tools and the alternatives that are out there, including Vite and Webpack and others, and, you know, how they can be used with Meteor and what the challenge is in terms of modernizing the Meteor build platform. So with that, do we have anything else that we want to say other than, by the way, guys, just remember, open source is not free software.
Yeah.
There are people that are putting their time and their effort and their money onto it. And we have a number of different open source developers that are out there that if you can find their sponsorship pages, if they're actively looking for sponsorships, please, please, please let them know that they're appreciated. If you can't sponsor them financially, put a star on their projects so that way others can discover them. And, you know, we can keep people working on the software that we all benefit from. Küster, you have anything to say before we sign out for today?
No, I'm already sharing the wild applications we caught today, and sharing the trophies here.
And I think what we need to do is just put an eye out now, right? You've got your binoculars.
Yep.
Let's close out by looking for a few more of those applications in the wild. Where the hell did my cursor go?